You know, some books you read, and then there are some books that, well, they read you. They just get under your skin and completely change how you see everything. Today, we're going to dive into 10 of those foundational masterpieces, the ones that have truly shaped our world for generations. But what is it really that makes a book a masterpiece? Is it just about being super old? No, not at all. It's about tackling the big, messy, timeless challenges of being human. You know, the stuff we are still wrestling with today. They're so much more than stories. They're like essential tools for understanding ourselves. So we're going to explore 10 of these literary giants. But instead of just running down a list, we're going to group them by the really profound questions they ask. That way, we can get to the heart of what makes them endure. Yeah, our journey through these 10 incredible books is broken down into 3 key themes, and you'll see how they connect them across centuries and even continents. So let's jump in. First up, we've got Part 1, The Social Mirror. These are the books that hold up a reflection to society, showing us everything, our triumphs, our biggest flaws, and all those intricate, unspoken rules that govern how we deal with each other. And we're going to see this theme play out in 3 absolutely brilliant novels: Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, and of course, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay, so let's start with Jane Austen. Now, on the surface, Pride and Prejudice looks like a simple romance, right? But underneath, Austen is using Elizabeth Bennet's razor-sharp wit to just dissect the whole thing. The economic reality of the marriage market, the absurdity of social climbing, and the super restrictive roles for women. It's this masterful critique, just disguised as a delightful love story. Flash forward about a century, and you've got F. Scott Fitzgerald exploring a whole different kind of social pressure. The Great Gatsby perfectly captures that dazzling, shimmering promise of the American dream, this idea that you can totally reinvent yourself through sheer will. But then it peels back the curtain to reveal the deep-seated corruption and sadness that's often lurking just beneath all that immense wealth. And it's wild because even though their worlds look completely different, you know, Regency England versus roaring Long Island parties, both Austen and Fitzgerald are getting at the same core human drama, that crushing pressure of social ambition, and the question of whether you can ever really leave your past behind. But a social mirror doesn't just show us our manners and our ambitions. Sometimes it reflects our moral failings, and it really challenges us to be better people. And this is the incredible power of Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. By telling a story of profound racial injustice through the innocent eyes of a child, Scout Finch, the novel it bypasses all the politics and speaks directly to our sense of compassion, our morality. It's a timeless, powerful lesson in empathy. All right, that brings us to our second theme, systems of power. Now we're looking at books that kind of zoom out. They pit the individual against these vast, overwhelming forces. We're talking totalitarian governments, war, and the massive sweep of history itself. And for this, we'll explore 3 huge works: Orwell's chilling 1984, Tolstoy's epic War and Peace, and the modern classic Sapiens. First, 1984. I mean, it's almost impossible to overstate this book's impact. Orwell literally gave us the language for our modern fears. Big Brother, thought crime, doublespeak. It's so much more than a story. It's this chillingly relevant warning about what happens when a government wants total control over not just what we do, but what we think. Now, from a dystopian future, let's go way back to the Napoleonic past with Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. And yes, this book is truly monumental. It weaves together the lives of 5 aristocratic families against this insane backdrop of war, and it gives you the staggering look at how history, this massive impersonal force, just crashes into individual human lives. So, okay, we've looked at political systems and we've looked at the system of history, but what happens if we zoom out even further, to look at the system of our entire species? Well, that's exactly where Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens comes in. It's nonfiction, but it reads like the most epic story of all, the story of Homo sapiens. It takes us from our humble beginnings all the way to our current status as masters of the planet. It gives us this incredible framework for understanding all the grand systems we've built, things like money, religion, and nations. And that brings us to our final theme, Part 3, The Inner Universe. After looking at society and all these grand systems, these next books turn the lens inward. They're mapping the incredibly complex territories of our morality, our psychology, and the amazing power of myth. Our final section here covers 4 incredible, but very different works: Crime and Punishment, The Catcher in the Rye, 100 Years of Solitude, and of course, The Lord of the Rings. So here we have two unforgettable characters who are just wrestling with their inner demons. In Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky gives us this dark psychological thriller, plunging us deep into the mind of a murderer who's just tormented by guilt. And then you have J.D. Salinger's Holden Caulfield in The Catcher in the Rye. He's pretty much the iconic voice for teenage angst and that desperate search for something authentic in a world that feels totally phony. You know, to really explore our inner truths, sometimes writers have to bend the rules of reality itself. And that brings us to magical realism. This is a style that was perfected by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in his masterpiece, 100 Years of Solitude. By just letting the mythical and the mundane exist side by side, he captures the strange, beautiful, and often tragic history of a family and a continent, where memory and fate are as real as gravity. And speaking of myth, you just can't talk about foundational stories without talking about J.R.R. Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings isn't just an adventure story, it's a profound work of modern myth-making. It basically established the template for all epic fantasy. And at its heart, it's a timeless story about the struggle of good versus evil and how friendship and hope can persevere, even in the absolute darkest of times. So we've journeyed through these critiques of society, we've seen battles against huge systems, and we've taken these deep dives into the human mind. So what's the common thread here? Why do these 10 books and others like them actually endure? Well, I think they form a kind of shared toolkit for making sense of our world. It really boils down to 3 key things. First, they aren't afraid to ask the biggest questions out there about justice, power, what it even means to be human. Second, they reveal these fundamental human truths, acting as both a mirror and a microscope. And finally, they actually shape our culture, giving us this shared language. I mean, think about it. We use words like Orwellian or Gatsby-esque to help us navigate our world. Look, these books are not just relics on a shelf. They are living, breathing conversations just waiting for you to join in. They offer perspectives that are as relevant right now as the day they were written. So the only question left is, which foundational story will you explore next?